When the Republic of Indonesia was born, its treasury was entirely empty. Yet, despite having no budget, this newborn nation acquired its first aircraft. The purchase was funded by the private wealth of the Achenese people. Men and women handed over their personal legacies, family heirlooms, wedding rings, and gold jewelry, to ensure the Republic had the means to defend itself. To understand why a single region possessed the liquid capital to bankroll a nation, we have to look back long before the concept of Indonesia existed. We have to trace the origins of a wealth that was centuries in the making. Sovereignty is a resource that must be earned. For the Achenese, this long-term strategy involved mastering global trade, building naval dominance, and generational sacrifice. In the 16th century, the Malacca Strait was the primary toll road for the global economy. Every ship navigated this passage. Sultan Ali Mughayat Shah united the fractured kingdoms into the Sultanate of Aceh, monopolizing the channel and controlling global trade. To solidify this political union, the Sultan established a shared foundation of Islamic faith. This provided the empire with a unified ideological core to withstand internal friction and external pressure. This shared belief system physically transformed the region into a center for religious and intellectual life. Massive complexes for worship and scholarship rose across the land, marking the start of Aceh's role as a regional anchor for knowledge. By combining the geographic control of a global shipping lane with a motivated, unified population, Aceh transformed into the unavoidable gatekeeper of the world economy. Under Sultan Iskandar Muda, this trade wealth was systematically converted into two distinct pillars of power, the intellectual and the military. The first pillar was a commitment to scholarship. Aceh became a renowned center for Islamic learning and legal expertise, producing sophisticated works of law and governance that spread throughout the archipelago. The second pillar was a massive, modern naval deterrent. Iskandar Muda built a fleet capable of projecting force across the entire region, ensuring that Aceh's trade interests were protected by more than just geography. In 1629, he tested this power by launching a massive armada against the Portuguese in Malacca. While the fortress held, the scale of the attack signaled to every European power that Aceh possessed the military capacity to challenge them on the open sea. Wealth alone is never enough for an empire to survive. It requires the intellectual software to govern effectively, and the military hardware to survive in an era of constant colonial expansion. This strategic location and immense wealth eventually brought centuries of conflict, culminating in a multi-generational war against the Dutch colonial empire. The Dutch brought industrial firepower and a professional army, resulting in decades of high mortality for the Achenese. However, the conflict did not end in a quick surrender. To endure this pressure, Achenese society adopted a tradition of gender-blind courage. Defense of the land became a duty for the entire population, regardless of gender or social standing. This culture produced leaders like Laksamana Malayati, who commanded a fleet of war widows, and guerrilla commanders like Chut Nyak Dien. Every village became a source of irregular fighters, turning the war into a grueling, population-wide struggle that the Dutch could never fully extinguish. By the time the colonial era reached its final decades, resistance had become an embedded trait in the Achenese cultural DNA. They had transitioned from a royal army to a society that existed in a state of permanent mobilization. In 1945, President Sukarno announced Indonesia's independence. However, the new republic was immediately threatened by returning Dutch forces intent on restoring colonial rule. While other major regions were reoccupied, Aceh remained a fortress. Its defensive history made it impenetrable, earning it the vital designation of Daerah Modal, the capital region of the struggle. This unconquered territory served as the republic's life support system. From this base, Aceh pumped logistics, weapons, and steady morale to independence fighters across the rest of the country. After 400 years of holding their ground, Aceh was the only foundation left standing when the rest of the nation's defenses began to fail. This leads us back to the Selawa, the Mountain of Gold. This aircraft was the ultimate culmination of that 400-year journey. The wealth first generated in the Malacca Strait was finally liquidated by the citizens of Aceh. They traded their family gold to provide the fledgling republic with its first wings, allowing the nation to literally take flight. Today, that sacrifice serves as a question for all of us. It asks what personal legacy we are willing to contribute to the sovereignty our ancestors bought with their own gold and blood. A culture's lasting legacy stems from how it chooses to use its resources. In Aceh's case, centuries of accumulated wealth were sacrificed to ensure the freedom of an entire nation. For more deep dives into the stories that built our world, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next chapter of history.